Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Gate Ruler video. In this one I'm going to be doing a faction focus on a really interesting archetype, and this is going to sort of set the scene for the next few I'm going to do, because they're kind of linked together. So we're going to be talking about Owl, and this is an archetype that is really difficult to build. So let's start off with a few things. Firstly, this is a knight-based archetype, and what that means is basically knight is really tough to build because there are just so many options, so many choices, and it's really hard to know what's optimal. There's not really a lot of wrong choices you can make. It's generally a lot of player preference and a lot of what you think is more valuable. On top of that, Owl is a really versatile archetype in the way it works, and it has a lot of synergies with a lot of different things. And none of those synergies are so obviously better that you think, oh yes, I've got to do this. Because, for example, let's start here with this first card here, which is Shadow of Hades, and you'll see this is a Darkness card with Abyss Concerto. So that will probably make you go, oh okay, so I should probably be running Darkness stuff with this. But Darkness isn't very good. So then you're sort of there like, okay, well, I don't really want to fill my deck with Darkness stuff because I don't think that's too strong. But there are other options when you look at People of Wales, which is a level 3 dragon whose ability is on play to heal. So you could use Genesis Summon to synergize with this to heal. So then you're looking at Gen Abyss, but then you're thinking, oh, but do I have enough space to run all the other stuff? What do I do? Basically, it's just a really tough deck to build, and that's if you decide to go down the route of actually wanting to summon these and play them. If you just want to run them for their counters, which is totally valid, and you can go down a completely different route. You can play just general good stuff Atlas cards and just chuck in, Volnar support if you feel like it, or just anything else really. Like, Atlas is really the most, valuable core for a knight deck really, because it just has so much good stuff you can build around. So yeah, that's a little preamble to basically go, I'm pretty much just going to show you cards and tell you what I've tried, and have the caveat that I've probably tried maybe 20% of the options that are out there. So let's get started with Shadow of Hades. This is a 5/3/3 level 3 Owl Darkness. With a counter to choose a level 1, choose one level 0 Owl unit from your cemetery and special summon it. This is a really powerful counter because it's essentially going to let you just chuck a defender, chuck something in the defensive zone more often than not, unless you hit it after all your opponents have done all their attacks, in which case it'll give you an attack for next turn. This is, in terms of like an actual thing to Abyss summon, it's like okay. It's nothing super good. It is 3 strike, which is nice. It's giving you the aggro, but in my experience, if you're going to be playing Knight, generally going Ooga Booga Face is not the best idea. So it's a weird card that I think is best for its counter ability, but when you do Abyss summon it, this can help you make a board from nothing, and this can save you games. So it's a strong card. I'm a fan of this. I'm a bigger fan of People of Wales because here we have a 6/4/2, so it's hitting 6 attack, which means it's going to be clearing almost everything in the game. 4 HP means it's reasonably easy to deal with, and 2 strike is fine. But when you counter check this is essentially a heal 2, essentially, and when it enters play, it's also healing. And there is that synergy with Genesis Summon, which is pretty much just easier to get off. So, I think that's a slightly more viable route to go down to consider. But, even then, for those of you who don't know, basically I've built a Gen Abyss deck with an Owl base, and I think it's pretty good. I am a fan of it. I think it's pretty strong, but... well, pretty strong. It's good. It's playable. It's just I don't know if it's like top tier or whatever. Not that I really have any clear idea of what top tier would encompass at the moment. I have a feeling this isn't it. But yeah, this is a really, really great card. If you don't, the only reason you don't know how good this is because you haven't tried it out. So I suggest you try it out. This card is phenomenal. Okay, Werewolf Warrior. This is a 4/3/2. Now it's an owl and a darkness. So those are sort of two big reasons why you would want to play this, basically. And yeah, you gotta respect vanilla stats. Don't sleep on the power of vanilla stats. This is really nice. Generally speaking, you would want to be playing this because it's a target for you to heal out with Weebles, Weeble of Wales, because you need to make sure that you're getting enough. You have enough low-level owls in your deck as targets. This is a card that you really do need to consider as well because there are not many level 1 darknesses and even fewer level 1 darkness owls. Your only other darkness owl that's level 1 is I can't remember the name of it. It's the 2/2/1 that revives itself for paying its cost and using a summon cap, which I'm not a massive fan of. I would rather have this, to be honest, because at least when I play this is going to be like pretty threatening to the opponent. So yeah, this is another good card. Similar reason, this is a level 0 Owl Darkness, so this has synergy with both Hades and Weevil. It is 4 HP, which means you can chuck it in the center, and it's reasonably likely to soak 2 attacks. Probably only going to soak 1, but it's possible it'll soak 2. And if it does soak 1, it's probably soaking something reasonably big, rather than just like a Joe, which is not that common from what I've seen. It's very similar reasons why this is good. You got to respect stats. Now, here are 2 options that I'm giving to you if you want to go down the route of including special summon stuff. So this is an owl. It doesn't have darkness, but it has familiar. So this is going to be something that you're able to use with Genesis Summon. And similarly, here's Dokalfar. Dokalfar? I don't know. Another Owl Darkness here, level 0. This is a 1/4/1, which has the ability to count as 2 cards or be a level 0/3. This is like the most valuable sort of card you can really have in your graveyard for Abyss summons, so this will obviously be a staple. And if you revive this or you revive a Banshee with Hades, that is going to be annoying for your opponent. Remember, if you're playing the Night Mirror and you hit that after your opponent's both your opponent's other units have attacked, or even one of your opponent's units have attacked, then you're going to be able to call a 4 HP thing to center, and if their other unit does not have at least 4 attack, then it's soaking your opponent's ruler attack and their unit attack. So don't sleep on the power of 4 HP. Yes, it's not fantastic at the start, but when you get it like mid and battle phase, it's really, really good. So obviously, if you're running these 2 options, well, you're going to be needing the summoners, which means you're going to be leaning towards Volnar as your option. And here I'm just going to put in the 2 obvious choices here. You can play this, or you can play the 4-star one with the touchdown to mill one. Either one, up to you. Doesn't really matter. Here, Shiori, this is I think the one you've got to go for, because here it's essentially a 1-card Genesis summon. And I realise I haven't got Magvarius open, but obviously Magvarius is an option you'd want to run if you go down this Genesis summon route, but I feel like that's kind of obvious. Yeah, like this is, those are the options if you want to go down that route. Now, if you do go down the Genesis summon route, I feel like I should specify you would definitely want to be playing Albafort, at least a couple copies. This card is really, really good. Breakthrough is super strong. Healing is really nice. What you find when you go down this route of, certainly with the Genesis summon, less so with the darkness focus, you can kind of, the darkness stuff is okay, but when you have the 4 Gweebles and then you've also got Albaforts and stuff, you suddenly find that you are healing a lot. Like, a lot. So you can really drag out games and eke out those wins. So yeah, I think Albafort's really, really good, but obviously Zolta, a 7/7/3 in the center is crazy. Do not sleep on the ability to just have a massive blocker and also a hugely threatening unit. It's very possible your opponent just will not be able to deal with this. And if that's the case, the second they sort of leave it up for a turn, then you're going to really run away with the game more than likely. The tempo advantage of just having this huge thing is crazy. Finally, here are some generic Atlas good cards that you would want to consider. Buster Arm, this is, for some reason, yep. Buster Arm, this is just a generically really powerful counter. Just fundamentally slamming 6 damage onto something is really good. You are probably going to get this in damage more likely than draw it. If you draw it, it's probably going to be a feels bad because you're more than likely not going to be able to play it, but you will more than likely see more cards in damage than you actually draw. So there's that, and it's just a very powerful counter. And it can save you. You know, this can remove opponents. Like, for example, if they swing with like a ruler or something, and then they've got a Galak on board, you can just delete the Galak here. That's really good. This is deleting almost everything besides stuff with 7 HP, which is like, I think 4 cards or 3 cards. So yeah, this is good. Another really, I think really should be a 4-off staple, at least like in every night deck. If you can run these energy boosters, you should. Because this is like, you know, believe me, you need these cards. You need these energy booster cards. They are so essential to just being able to afford to just play a level 3 and still do stuff on the next turn. But like, trust me, super good. Play them if you haven't tried them yet. You will come around. The last option, which I'm a massive fan of, even if you're not playing any other Wildfall stuff, I just think this is such a good counter, and that's Big Owl. So this card is amazing for 3 reasons. 1, if you hit this as a counter, it's giving you cards, it's giving you options. The value on this counter is tremendous, because like, if you hit this twice in the course of a game, which if you play 4 is pretty likely, that's essentially like a whole extra turn of draws. You know, that's that's valuable, but you're also, you know, you're getting more cards from your deck, you're getting them faster, you're getting more options, you're being able to respond to what your opponent's doing more than likely. Like, it's more likely that you can actually do something. This card's super good. Second reason this card's really good is it's 5 HP, so you can just whack it in the center, and this is probably soaking 2 attacks, or definitely soaking 1 big unit like a Galak, which is my go-to example. And the third reason this is amazing is, if you don't need it to defend and you end up drawing it, fundamentally this can still draw you cards. And if you decide to use this and you run a couple of other Wild Force cards, you can run some of the zeros, for example, then with this you've now got a small little package that can draw you cards, gain you advantage on top of that. This can be nice with the 3/3/1 Recon Deer, which scries 1, so you can play the Recon Deer, scry 1 to see if you want that card, and go from there. So yeah, this is really good. And that's it for this faction focus. As I say, Owl is a really interesting archetype, and it just requires pure experimentation. There are definitely cards I would have missed that are going to end up really strong, just because I simply haven't had the time to try them yet. There's just so much to try. And that is sort of the general theme with these night decks, and you'll see this as I sort of cover more and more night decks. You'll see with Apprentice, it's much easier to kind of isolate the stuff that's like, yep, this is pretty good. But when it comes to the night stuff, there's just so much variety. I think Ikeda described night deck building as a bottomless swamp, and he's pretty correct. This is yeah, you know, it is ridiculous that a card game with this few cards has this much deck building variety to it. You know, with games like Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, that makes sense. With games like Magic, that makes sense. There are hundreds and thousands of cards to choose from in those games, in those eternal formats. So, for Magic, so obviously there's a huge amount. But you know, when you start restricting the card pools, the optimal builds, the optimal decks start becoming more and more obvious. And to be fair, even with Yu-Gi-Oh, the variety of decks is not that like, there's so many staples between decks nowadays, with like hand traps and extra deck, like a reasonable amount of homogeneity in the extra decks, that, you know, Gate Ruler is really a breath of fresh air with just how much there is here. So yeah, I really strongly recommend you guys sit down and do some deck building, and that's it for this video. I've rambled long enough. I hope you enjoyed it. Like the video if you did, sub to the channel for more Gateway content, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.